Hey everybody, Dave here. Hope you're having an awesome day. So, I've had this idea for probably the better part of 3 years, and I've just never really gotten around to executing on it, and I think today's the day. So, I found a whole bunch of Barbies at a yard sale, and the cool thing is these things, they're pretty trashed, so literally you can get them for 25 cents, 50 cents, a buck sometimes, so I don't remember exactly what I paid for this, but it was not very much. And I think I want to turn her into as if she's gone bad. So this is Bad Barb, and she's got a little party dress on, so I guess it's time to party. Let's do it. All right, so here's Barb, and I think the first thing I want to do is I want to cut off her hair here and put some metal plates so it looks like she's a cyborg or an android, and I want to cut the arm off. And I've got this little sample arm that we'd use for 1M robots. It was printed way too small, so I think that'll be fun to add that on. Then I've got these jumpsuits that my mom made, and I thought this actually would be really fun to give her kind of this like prison vibe, or she's like Bad Barb. This ends up kind of going all over the place, this video, because everything that I thought was going to happen didn't really happen. So here I am just kind of cleaning up the hair. Got a scalpel from a buddy of mine, and the hair has like candy in it or something. It's really gross. So I'm going to go wash it. And also, I looked up online, and if you use a hair conditioner, you can actually loosen up the hair, and it looks pretty decent. I don't need it to be like perfect because it is Bad Barb, so I want to put some wash on her face because I want her to look like she's got oil and grime kind of smeared on her face as if she's been out in the battlefield. But as I worked on this, it just wasn't quite coming together, so I thought, okay, maybe I'll take some nail polish remover, and nail polish remover takes paint right off of these things. It's pretty amazing. And I gave her like a nice smoky eye, and then I looked up like warrior female online, and there's these cool paint markings, so I thought, oh, this will be kind of cool. And as I'm painting it, it's starting to look like something from a horror movie. And the more I worked on it, the less I liked it, and I wasn't quite sure what to do. So I thought, well, maybe I'll block out the mouth. And then I started making the mouth even more, and I started putting designs on it. I thought, oh my word, this definitely is something from a really scary horror movie. So I thought, okay, maybe if I paint out the eyes black, because the eyes were like too big and it made it freaky. So I thought if I paint out the eyes black, and then I just do these two little dots and maybe make it look like smaller eyes, it still wasn't working. And I'll tell you, this was a really interesting build because I had something in my head and it just wasn't working. So for the time being, I'm going to go work on the arm, and I'll just cut off the arm, and then I'm cutting off the little shoulder part of the 1M robot because I want to just connect it straight onto the cut off arm. So I thought I'll use this guitar string as like a peg system to help hold everything together with the glue. So I'm just getting a quick measurement. I'll snip it off about there. And so I put this on. I think that fits pretty nice. I glued it up, and the glue just would not hold to this guitar string for whatever reason. So ripped that all out and used polystyrene instead. That worked pretty nice. You'll see I have these weird little gaps there. That's okay, because what I'm going to do is take this old t-shirt, and I just cut off a little strip down at the hem. This is like a shirt for painting. And I cut it into a thinner strip, and I wrapped it around as if it was like bandaged onto her. You know, she lost her arm and bandaged this robot arm on. This is a cool little feature. The wrist swivels, and the hand opens and closes a little bit. Now, the jumpsuit was too big, and I thought she needs like a t-shirt underneath. So I cut this t-shirt that was for a male 1/6 scale figure, and I sewed the back up. And it's like, okay, but I'm not sure. I'm not loving it yet. So I'm going to go back to painting. So I'm painting up the arm here, silver. And for the head here, I'm going to use some Magic Sculpt. It's a 2-part epoxy. You just do like a 1-to-1 ratio and then smash it together. I like to fold it together 20 or 30 times until it's kind of the same color. I rolled that out flat and made these little metal panels. Now the jumpsuit, it was just way too big. So this birthday dress that she originally had, I just cut the bottom of that off and I started weathering it. Now I spent a lot of time weathering this thing, took it out in my garage, stomped on it in the in the dirt, sanded it, scuffed it, ripped some holes in it. And I think in the end, I wasn't really loving the pink, so I'm going to mess around with that a little bit later. I ran over to the store, bought some shoes, and I think those are pretty cool, but I think I'm going to paint everything out black. So I started thinking, like, okay, what if I painted the legs black and the torso black? Could I do that? And I thought maybe I need to paint the head silver so it feels more Android. So I was trying to paint around all my detail work that I did. And oh boy, this is something else. So, all right, I'm gonna move on again. I got this Buzz Lightyear arm. It's from Zurg, and I'm gonna try and see if I can get that arm on to her body. So I spray painted it black, and I'm gonna get this arm off. Just took my snips and broke that off. And now I need to drill a hole there, but I think I'm gonna wait on that for a minute. And I'm gonna jump over here and start painting these metal panels on her head. And then I'll do a wash on the arm here. That'll just knock down that silver. I think that looks pretty nice. And my battery died. So this is the next morning. You can see I finished out the arm. I painted some detail, painted that bandage, put some decals on her. These are some custom-made decals that I made. And then I took the Zurg arm and I did a dry brush of silver over that, painted some little details of burgundy. And I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, I want to get rid of that little line. So I'm going just with the silver head. Looks a little bit more like a Android, I feel. And I thought maybe if I add some wires, that will help. So just glued some wires on two little holes that were already there. Took my Dremel tool, popped a little hole through there. That allows the larger drill bit to come through easier. And here's the moment of truth. I popped the Zurg arm in and it snapped in perfectly. I mean, I'm really pleased with that. So things are turning my way. I took the shoes, I painted them black, doing some silver dry brush. I also painted her dress black, and I feel like it gives a little bit more of like that little black dress kind of feel. So I'm liking how she's coming together a little bit better. I'm going to build a base here. I'm just using some Mod Podge to seal up some just styrofoam that I got at the Dollar Tree. I'm going to paint the edge of the base black while the styrofoam dries. And then I want it to look like a sidewalk or like a concrete flooring. So I just scribed a couple little lines, and then I'm just taking the edge of a pencil and just kind of gouging almost so it looks like little cracks. Take a little bit of aluminum foil and just roll it around to give it texture. I'm not rolling around super hard because I don't want heavy texture, but I'll glue this down. And then I saw this guy, he was doing some different techniques, so I kind of did a little spin off of this. It's just watered down white paint. You kind of just glob that on. We'll let that dry. And then after that dries, I'm going to take, it's about the consistency of milk. I'm going to take a little bit of a gray, dab that on. I felt like the technique was looking a little bit more like marble than concrete, so I went in and did some dry brushing, did a wash over the entire thing. That helped fill in the cracks. You can see the cracks got a little bit darker, wiping that down. I'm going to take a lighter gray. This gray here, again, I'm just using cheapy paints, nothing fancy. And I'm going to get a little bit loaded on my brush and start dry brushing the entire thing. And after massaging it back and forth, started to come together. I'm taking this little powdered pigment, and almost like dirt would come through the cracks a little bit, and I'm going to add a little bit of grass at the end. And to hold her in place, I'm going to put some polystyrene pegs here, and I think we're going to wrap this one up. Whoa! Ay, 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 man, that thing had twists and turns through the entire build. There were so many points at the build that I had no clue what to do. Like, I literally just was sitting there looking at it going, I don't know what to do. And I tried something, I'm like, oh, it looks horrible. Like, for most of the build, it looked like Annabella, like, I think that's the name of the movie, like a creepy, scary horror movie. And I was just like, oh, it's so weird. Like, I don't want it to be weird and scary. I want it to be this cool, like, Android Battle Barb, Bad Barb kind of vibe. And whew. And what's funny is, like, most of the time when I have a build, I've got an idea in my head and I just like execute on it and it just happens. And this one, I've had this idea bouncing around my head for a couple years now, and it really just did not turn out at all how I thought it was going to turn out. But I think in the end it turned out pretty decent. I get it. If you hate this build, I totally understand, and you don't have to leave a comment. I get it. I understand, and I'm sorry, but I grew in it, in this build, just learning new things. So, even though it's not perfect, it's always a great day to be a toy nerd. Have a great one.